Hey you, thanks for coming. Today we're going to be talking about the Eramis fight and some tips, tricks, and strategies that may help you defeat her. I don't want to spoil any of the cutscenes or story moments for you, so we're going to be focusing purely on the fight mechanics themselves. Let's take a look. A few things to consider before we get into the Eramis fight mechanics. The fight itself is recommended at 1150 power level. So if you're under 1150, you may want to consider getting some upgrades so that you can be on level with the fight itself. I went in at about 1130. It created a little bit of a challenge for me, and it was more of an enjoyable fight, and it didn't feel like I was just wiping through the boss. And it allowed me to kind of think a little bit more about the mechanics and what to do to survive, which was pretty cool. If after a few tries you're still having issues with this fight, I do very much recommend that you go out to some other activities and try to level up your character as much as you can before trying again. This fight is broken up into two different parts, or two phases. First phase, your main goal is to get Eramis down to 50% health in order to trigger a cutscene and get to phase 2. Part 1 is pretty straightforward. You're in a small square room, there's some pillars around, and there's some ads that fall from the ceiling every 30 to 60 seconds. You're going to see 4 Shanks and 2 Vandals spawn periodically that are going to mix things up for you, and you do definitely want to take care of them as quickly as possible because they can shoot you from a distance and are essentially snipers. Eramis has multiple attacks that she can hit you with. Her main weapon is kind of a shotgun or flat cannon or boom boom cannon, whatever you want to call it, that can hit you, but the projectiles travel fairly slowly, so as long as you stay mobile, you should be fine. She's got a stomp attack if you get too close. She's got stasis shard stomp that is much like the previous bosses where she kind of stomps and there's a straight line of icicles that try to find you and freeze you. And she's got the stasis vortex grenade that you guys are probably already sick of in Crucible at this point. With those attacks in mind, the main objective here is to stay mobile. Keep circling around the encounter and don't let her get a track on where you are so that she can't have an opportunity to actually freeze you in place. Because if you get frozen, then you're probably going to lose at least half your health, if not more. And if there's any small ads around when you get frozen, then you're going to have an even tougher time surviving. Like I mentioned before, you do want to continue to take out those ads when they spawn, because they can create problems like if you get frozen, and you want to prevent that as much as possible. As long as you stay mobile and circling around the arena, use whatever weapons and class abilities to get her down to half health, and when you do, it'll trigger a cutscene and phase 2. Phase 2 of this fight is quite a bit more difficult, and not necessarily for the reasons that you would think. You do get the stasis empowered buff, much like the previous boss fights, where it's essentially mayhem in PvE when you get your super and your abilities back really fast. And that's what we really want to focus on here. To begin, there are a lot of ads that will spawn, much like the previous encounter, but this time they're a little bit bigger. There's 4 servitors and 2 vandals that will periodically drop down from the big circle area opposite from where you enter the arena. And again, you want to keep them managed because they will stack up and shoot you from long range if you're not careful. Eramis's main attacks here are very similar to the previous encounter, where she still has the shotgun, boom boom gun. She's still got her stomp attack, the vortex grenade, but the one that you really need to look out for is her stasis shard projectiles that she'll shoot at you. It will freeze you instantly and pretty much send you plummeting to your death if you're in midair, which is an awful way to go. Again, the main objective for you is to stay mobile during this encounter. The stadium that you're in is set up kind of like a big M, where the point of the letter in the area is a big circle. Think of that as your center point, and you want to try to avoid going through that middle platform as much as you can, because the only way to get to the middle platform and out is to jump. And the more time that you're in the air, the more vulnerable you are to her ice attacks to fall down into the abyss. So if you stay moving from corner to corner, kind of in a U pattern, continue to use cover on each side that is available to you and let yourself charge up your stasis abilities so that you can just spam abilities, grenades, and melee attacks to whittle her down. You can pass by Eramis if she's frozen without much of a stomp. So time your attacks and your passing of her accordingly so that you can get to the other side and charge up your abilities again. I've seen some folks use things like Anarchy and other passive damage weapons to allow yourself to get some damage while you're running away, and it's also a good option, but not necessary. As long as you continue to do this, and don't jump to the middle, you just have to rinse and repeat this until she's about 5% health, and then she'll kneel down and trigger another cutscene for you to watch. In conclusion, this fight, if you're around the light level or below, is a pretty fun little challenge, and as long as you stay patient, you should have no real trouble defeating the boss. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being compassionate, kind, and empathetic, and thank you for being you. We'll see you next time. Until then, Jay Snipes out.